Hey friends, I'm Jeff. Welcome back to my workshop, the Raging Deacon Workshop. Always good to have you. Listen, we are starting part 2 of our 2-part episode for our work on our Wilton Flip Grip Vise. And specifically, we will be finishing the vise in this episode. And speaking of finishing, how are we going to be finishing that? Well, good question. We will be finishing it with a combination of boiled linseed oil and clear paste wax. So we'll be using a combination of those items. Unlike the last few of my videos, which have tended to be full of like little skits and stuff, this one is going to be a straight how-to video. So I am just going to be giving you my way that I like to do it and my opinions about how it should be done and some of the lessons that I've learned. So, man, folks, we are right in the middle of a snowstorm, winter storm that's coming in. It's cold in the garage. So I'm going to do you guys a favor. I'm going to have you guys head on up to the command center. While you guys are at the command center talking strategy and what's going on, I'm going to turn on not only the oil heater, but we're going to turn on the Big Buddy heater here and get the shop all warmed up. So we'll see you up there at the command center. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back up to the command center. Good to see you back up here. So, as we said down back in the workshop, we are going to be finishing our Flip Grip Vise with boiled linseed oil and paste wax. So, before we get into it, I need to read you all a disclaimer about what we are going to be doing. I will be using 2 products in a way that is not intended. When heated, these products produce fumes, and prolonged exposure is probably not good for humans. If you choose to do this, which you shouldn't, make sure you have adequate ventilation and are wearing a respirator. Okay, with the disclaimer out of the way, let's go ahead and fire up the computer system and let's talk about what we are going to be doing. All right, so here is our plan for today, and it'll be broken down into, let's call it 3 steps, okay? Step 1 will be doing some degreasing of the various vise body parts. So we'll just simply take the degreaser, spray it on there, probably use a little brush and work it in there, and then just wipe it off. All right, step 2, we will be using a metal prepping etching solution to remove any unseen or hidden rust. And I know in the last episode I did all sorts of rust removal and worked it with the wire wheel, and it looked great, but it's been sitting in the garage now as we prep for this, as I've been prepping for this episode, and though it doesn't look like it's got any rust, who knows? And we know that with painting and stuff, preparation is the key. So we're just going to let things sit in an etcher for 20 minutes and just to get off any hidden rust that might hinder the process. All right, and then we will move on to step 3, which will be actually applying the paste wax and the boiled linseed oil. And in short, this is what we will do. First part of that process will to actually be to heat. When we are ready to work with the part, we will put it in a little oven. We will heat it up. Once it is up to temperature, we will bring it out of the oven. We will then apply the paste wax or the boiled linseed oil, then the paste wax. We will put it back in the oven, bake it 400-ish degrees for about an hour, and then we will repeat that 2 more times. So we will be heating, applying, baking, applying, baking, applying. So those are sort of the broad steps of the process here. So as of now, of the recording of the command center, my plan is to treat all the big Vise body parts with our boiled linseed oil and paste wax, and then the smaller parts I may blue or just leave bare and put shellac on. I don't know yet. We'll figure that out when we get there, and we'll see. It'll be a big surprise. Okay, let's head back down to the garage because the heaters have probably had enough time to heat everything up, and let's get into finishing our vise. All right, as we set up in the command center, step number 1 is going to be degreasing our parts. They're not actually greasy, but like I said, we're going to try to remove any last residual grime. I'm going to be using POR 15 cleaner degreaser. You don't have to use POR 15. You can use, I got some fast 505 Tractor Supply. A lot of places carry this, or any household degreaser that you might have. I just bought this. I want to use it. Got some mixed up in the bottle. So we're going to start degreasing some parts. All right, degreasing step 1 is done. We are going to be moving on to step 2, where we're going to do some more metal prepping. I think I mentioned up in the command center that, some time has elapsed between the first video and the second video, and like this piece has developed a little extra surface rust on there. So this is a metal prepping etcher, and it will remove surface rust. Once again, it's from POR 15. I'm also doing it just because this has got still a real rough texture to it. And so, the wire wheel did a great job, but we're just going to let it get in and around all of the little texture parts and really, get that surface rust off there. So we will put it on there. We'll let it sit in the tray for about 20 minutes, and then we'll wash it off. So let's get prepping some metal. Okay, we have got our metal parts all degreased and prepped and ready to go. So now we are ready to move on to our finishing baking process. So let's talk about what we are going to need. First, we'll actually need our 2 finishing materials, our boiled linseed oil and our paste wax. I use just shop towels, one towel that's dedicated to putting on the paste wax, another towel that is dedicated to applying the boiled linseed oil right there. Okay. Next thing is that you'll want to have that respirator ready to go. Like I said, we are producing fumes that probably should not be breathed in by humans. So respirator and ventilation fan, plenty of ventilation going on in the background. We'll put the respirator right over there. And then a couple other things that could be helpful. For smaller parts that aren't so heavy, I actually just have a pair of oven tongs with silicone on it. We're only heating parts to at max 400 degrees, so these will work just fine. Nothing's gonna melt. They're rated for a little higher than that. So just I like the silicone because they grip onto stuff. Heavier pieces may not. This might be the heaviest I can grip with them. That's right on the edge, but I can grip that. It makes it just easy to get in and out of the oven. Another piece of optional equipment is just an oven glove. This one's like a barbecuing glove, but this way you can reach in and grab it without burning your hand and hold on. We're going to have to be able to manipulate things and put on the stuff, so just having this is helpful. Once again, we're only going to about 400 degrees. We're not really, we're not welding anything. These are just oven temperatures, so an oven glove or a barbecue glove will work just fine. Oh, and I do all my work on an old rag towel. I just don't do it on the wood bench. I just have it on the towel ready to go. I think my reasoning behind that helps prevent some puddling. As we put things down on one side, it'll absorb any extra material. It doesn't seem to affect the finish. So, okay, let's talk about our next step in the process, which will be preheating the metal. All right, it is time to preheat our part, and we are going to be using my dedicated toaster oven for that. Just so you know, if you choose to use a toaster oven for this process, the toaster oven becomes contaminated, like permanently. You won't want to use it for baking painted parts later because they'll become contaminated with the paste wax and the boiled linseed oil. Ask me how I know. So, dedicated oven for this process. Preheating, essentially we will be preheating to 400 degrees, and I'm just going to heat it for 30 minutes. There we go. And that's it. We'll stick the part in there, and then we will heat it up for 30 minutes, and then come back and apply our first application of our stuff.
All right, I have my respirator on, so I apologize for some of the bad audio, but we have our first part straight from the oven for the preheating. The reason why we're preheating is to, one, really open up the pores of the cast iron, because this is not a paint. This is we want it to soak into the material as we put it on. So we're opening pores. All right. We are starting with our boiled linseed oil. We're just taking a blue shop towel, dab it in there, get it wet. We're trying not to glob it on there. We're just coating the surface. And we will be doing this whole process 3 times. So this is coat number 1. Now you might be asking, Jeff, oh, remember, I've got my glove on here. That really helps. Are you worried about you're touching it while you're putting it on? Are we worried about it coming off? No. Remember, it's going to be soaking inside. So yes, I'm probably removing a little as I go along, but that's okay. It's also being absorbed into the cast iron as well. All right, boiled linseed oil is done. We are now going to put on the coat of clear paste wax with a different towel. Okay, first coat applied. Back into the oven it goes. This time we will be, once again, baking at 400 degrees, but we will be baking for 1 hour. And here we go. All right, there we go. We are done with our 3 baking sessions. We've got 3 coats of our boiled linseed oil and our paste wax on there. We are now going to let it cool down for a little bit, and then we will put on some clear shellac just to give the finish a little extra protection from wears and tears and scrapes and everything. I hope you guys can see it. I just don't think it comes across on the camera very well. But it's got a nice little, essentially like brass patina to it. Maybe we'll do a little side-by-side comparison up here on the screen. All right, so like I said, we'll do shellac. And then, folks, we're just going to take the other parts of the vise and just repeat the same things over again. So here we go. All right, just a little note here. Sometimes, and this one isn't bad, but sometimes you can get a little puddling on your parts. Once again, the boiled linseed oil is not a paint, so it doesn't really adhere, and sometimes it puddles in places. If you get that, you should be able to take a piece of steel wool and just lightly go over that, and that should blend, become less noticeable. Oh, there we go. So there we go. We can blend out some of that puddling if that happens. The places that it usually likes to happen, though I don't see any, well, let's flip it over. Usually likes to happen inside, Usually likes to happen inside of deep wells and stuff, and inside of letters, but it looks like I did okay on that. So, if you got any puddling, just use some steel wool to get it out. All right, folks, I'm going to offer some closing thoughts and comments here. And I think if you're going to attempt something like this, one, make sure you have that adequate ventilation and respirator on hand when you do that. I think cast iron is the best candidate for this type of finishing. When I've done it on other vices and stuff, the finish always comes out very consistent on cast iron vise, unless the casting is kind of crappy. Now this one has voids and is rough, but it's not too bad, and I think it actually came out really well. So I think cast iron is a good candidate for this type of treatment. Now you can do it on steel, and to give you a little comparison, I did 3 extra tools here with the same treatment, same boiled linseed oil and paste wax treatment. The first one I did was this Westcott wrench, and I think it's made of high carbon steel. I don't know for sure, but you know, it's old enough that I don't think this is a chrome vanadium type of alloy steel. I did the body with the paste wax and the boiled linseed oil. I left the jaw bare metal. I just put some shellac on it, and then I blued up the thumb screw. Don't know if it comes out on the phone as well, but this one has not quite the same, not quite as an even a finish as we had on our Vise. Our Vise had a nice even finish across the entire body. Any difference you hear is just the shape of the Vise and how it's reflecting the light. And I think it's because this steel was really porous. It like sucked it in. It really did actually suck it in more than I thought it was going to do. So high carbon steel S-curved wrench, older wrench, works. I mean, it did it. Worked fine. It's in there. And everything is working great. Has that sort of, you know, brushed, oil brushed look to it. The next thing I did was this vintage Fairmont, nice little Fairmont wrench out of Cleveland, Ohio. And I actually think this one turned out pretty good. A nice, even finish. Well, you can see some blotching there. Once again, it has a different look here in the workshop than it is on the camera. But still not quite the same. This one really is a little bit more brassy than I would say the other ones. And it took it pretty well. And yeah, that's that one. And then finally, I have a Bonnie Bonaloy wrench. And I want you to know that the only thing that I did different on this wrench is I polished the faces. I took it to 2 Red Label conditioning belts. I did a coarse and then a medium to really kind of polish up the face. And I think what I'm trying to show here is that you don't want to try to use this on really polished surfaces because the boiled linseed oil has trouble sticking to your polished surfaces. You can see that right there. And then you were like, Jeff, you didn't even treat the handle. I did. Actually, the 3 coats of boiled linseed oil and paste wax, and that is all I got on this wrench. That is all what it did. I don't know if the chrome vanadium or if there's another coating on top of the Bonnies or the Bonaloys, but yeah, that's what happened to that one. So you can do it on steel. I think you get less consistent results. It's slightly dependent on the alloy of steel, but in general, I believe cast iron is champion when it comes to this type of finish. All right, folks, I want to say thank you for once again for joining me on this 2-part journey on our Wilton Flip Grip Vise. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed working on this nice little learning vise to work on and do some things that I never tried before, and also to show you guys my paste wax and boiled linseed oil treatment on the vise. Before we go, just a reminder, hey, if you've got any extra tools that you aren't using in your workshop, and between you and me, I know you got some extra tools laying around your workshop that you ain't using, I would like to encourage you to donate any extra tools that you have to a local charity of your choosing, because a good tool is more than just a tool. A good tool is an opportunity, and everyone deserves a good tool. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming back to the shop, and we'll see you on the next one.